Thanks for being here together to remember and celebrate the life of a special lady. Often we learn about our family history through repeated storytelling at gatherings, and since I came into the picture when Maureen was 31, I rely on my memories of these stories to inform me of her past. It's always interesting when cousins compare versions of the tales they've heard, or overheard, throughout the years. I'm sure I'll hear how I got it wrong from a few of my cousins, but these are my snippets and I'd like to share some with you because Maureen's history is one of living life to the fullest and celebrating the little things with those you love. We know Maureen loved entertaining, and our home was often filled with the laughter of family and friends. Maureen was the youngest of 5 children, born to Irene Guerin Yunkin and Frank Yunkin in the Bay Ridge neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York, on March 17, 1933. They were a close-knit family, living in the apartment above her Uncle Walter's. She and her family had the good fortune to be able to leave the city in the summer and enjoy living rustically in a bungalow at Rocky Point out on North Shore of Long Island. Maureen shared many fond memories of sleeping on the porch with her siblings and cousins, catching rainwater in a barrel, using gas lanterns, and digging for clams with her feet. Her father would drive them out at the beginning of summer, but stay only for the weekend and then return to work. At the time, polio was an increased threat during the summers, and her father would return to collect the family only after the threat had passed, sometimes even after school was back in session. She felt her father's love especially when he admired a neighbor's child walking past their apartment in uniform on her way to school, and he set his mind to sending his daughter to that high school, Fontbonne Hall Academy, which he did. Maureen's 2 older sisters, Claire and Lorraine, helped to raise her after their father died on her 10th birthday, and her brothers Frank and Edwin were off at war. Claire found their mother Irene a job at Best & Company, a woman's clothing store where Irene met her bridge club friends. When Maureen's brother Edwin married Mary and moved to Garden City, Long Island, she and her mother moved into the apartment in the upstairs of the house. Maureen earned a Bachelor of Science from Columbia University School of Nursing and became a registered nurse. She practiced at New York Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan. It wasn't long before she met her future husband, Hank Kelley, at a Republican Party mixer. She was a Democrat, but she and her friends went to the Republican mixers because, she said, their parties were better. Maureen and Hank began dating, but not exclusively at first, and Maureen loved to share intriguing stories about coming home from one date only to quickly change and go out on another, hoping the 2 gentlemen didn't encounter each other at the front door. But Hank persisted, and true love won when she accepted his marriage proposal. They used to joke a lot that he was compelled to ask her to marry him so that he could get back to writing his dissertation in peace. Hank succeeded both in earning his PsyD in aerospace engineering from NYU and in marrying the love of his life. Maureen and Hank were married at St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Garden City, New York. Maureen was especially pleased with the venue because she envisioned herself getting out of the car at the curb and gracefully gliding along the stone walkway lined with colorful flowers on both sides. She is an especially resilient person and managed not to cry when the dawn of her wedding day brought a downpour of epic proportions and dampened her sunny vision. Maureen and Hank were able to buy land in Huntington, Long Island, and build a home designed by a local architect. Maureen was godmother to a number of her siblings' children, and she celebrated them and sent them care packages and cared for them. Hank was working at Grumman Aerospace Corporation on the Apollo lunar mission team that successfully landed men on the moon in 1969, and Maureen took a position as a staff nurse at Grumman. Their first child, Henry, was born May 23, 1961. In 1963, Hank left Grumman as assistant chief of the research department and founded Analytical Mechanics Associates with 2 partners, where he continued to contract with NASA. I came along June 5, 1964, and motherhood occupied Maureen until 1975, when she decided to go back to school for her Master's of Science at Stony Brook University. Maureen then became Director of Nursing at Consolation Residence in West Islip. For fun, Maureen and Hank would spend Saturdays at the old Mitchell Field racing cars in the Gymkhana fashion. These were time trials, driving one at a time between pylons on a closed course on an abandoned airfield. Many Saturdays, Hank would spontaneously invite the whole tribe to come home with us for dinner. Maureen became adept at picking up roasted chicken or duck on the way home and whipping up something for all of us to eat, and a good time was had by all. Another way to play with antique racing cars was the hill climb. Again, a closed course, usually on a single-lane road, winding up a remote hill, sometimes ending at an estate where the competing cars would be shown off while their collectors compared notes and swapped stories. I was not really comfortable being picked up from school or activities when my dad drove up in an Aston Martin, the cherry red Allard, or British racing green Healey Silverstone. But when your dad had a hobby like that, you went along for the ride. Antique cars brought Maureen and Hank to England and Europe a couple of times. Often their car buying trips would be timed to include international aerospace conferences, and on one occasion the four of us went to Monaco for the 1979 Grand Prix. That year I turned 13, surrounded by drunken sailors singing me happy birthday at a pub off the beach at Genoa. Good times. In 1978, Hank was recruited as a professor to the Aerospace and Ocean Engineering Department at Virginia Polytechnic Institute. And so the family moved to the sunny South, where snow made an unusual show in early fall as a welcome. Maureen was not amused and shared that story with any and all who would listen for years to come. So began the phase of including international graduate students in all holiday celebrations, inviting them for dinners and grilling them about their dissertations. More than a few friends have shared their memories of Hank's last-minute dinner invitations and answering Maureen's call for help in executing them. Their hospitality was legendary, and enduring friendships were nurtured. In fact, we have a couple of graduate students here with us today who can attest to these fun times. Maureen pursued her career as director of nursing at a facility in nearby Floyd County. She had just made the decision to retire so she could travel with Hank when he went to places like Edwards Air Force Base or Houston, when Hank unexpectedly died in 1988. Part of Maureen's recovery from this life-changing milestone was her decision that geriatrics was her calling, and she went about earning her nursing home administrator's license. She accepted an invitation to open a new nursing home, Our Lady of the Valley, in Roanoke, Virginia. Maureen packed up and sold her house in Blacksburg, shipped off the race cars to a friend who dealt in specialty cars on Long Island, and began anew. Maureen's dedication to opening the new facility brought her new friendships and experiences of her own. In 1995, Maureen moved to Kona to be part of her granddaughter Amber's upbringing and later Saffron's, and to build her own identity here. Being a grandmother was just one part of who Maureen wanted to be. She became active in the Kona Singles Club, the Bowling League, and volunteered at the Hulahei Palace gift shop as a Calabash cousin. Maureen was an usher at St. Michael's Catholic Church and volunteered twice a month at their food pantry distribution in Holualoa. Her condo became a family meeting place in town. Maureen had her Hanai grandchildren as well, who she picked up from school along with Amber and Saffron. She got so much joy from hosting birthday pool parties and being the home base following trick-or-treating in town so the kids could spread their Halloween candy loot out on the carpet and trade. She cared for Saffron while I worked for a couple of years until she was ready for preschool and kindergarten. As time went by and her grandkids grew, Maureen was elated to meet her first great-grandchild, Emalani, when she and her parents, Kapala and Jeff, moved to Kona from Seattle. Lots of pool time ensued, and opportunities to host family gatherings brought Maureen a lot of joy. The births of great-grandsons Julian and Bodie gave her plenty to keep up with. At the age of 85, in October of 2018, Maureen moved into the Regency at Hualalai, here in Kailua Kona. There, she reinvented herself yet again as an active single, and made new friends, and discovered the joy of being taken care of. "What's not to like?" she would ask when someone questioned her about the move. "They clean my room once a week and change my sheets, plan and prepare and clean up from my meals, drive me to activities and keep me entertained. I'm surrounded by my peers who understand me. What's not to like?" The most difficult decision Maureen made was to sell her car and stop driving. Driving always gave her a sense of freedom and autonomy. If you ever visited Maureen in Hawaii, I'm sure you have vivid memories of her guided tours around the island. She loved to show visitors around. Everyone who has known Maureen appreciated her sense of humor and easy laughter. She was a joker and liked to make light of difficult situations. She chose to be happy and increasingly expressed her gratitude as she began to slow down and need more assistance. What a positive, encouraging spirit Maureen had. We have many memories to share and to comfort us in our loss. So we gather together today to celebrate her life and how much she loved us and we loved her.